Well, good morning everybody, it's Mark Baber from Sony here, and we're going to be going live on the Facebook Live page of Wilkinson Cameras this morning. I'm going to be talking live to John Edwards, DOP of Naive Studios, in just over 3 minutes time. So grab yourself a coffee, cup of tea, whatever you're doing this morning, and join us. An opportunity to ask lots of questions to John and myself about the FX3 and any of the other video range of our cameras as well. And let us know where you are this morning as well. If you're local or further afield, we'd love to bring you into the webinar as well. So we'll be with you now in just under 3 minutes. Morning again everybody, it's Mark Baber from Sony. We've just got over a minute before we go live talking to John Edwards at Naive Studios, Director of Photography, and it's on live on the Facebook page of Wilkinson Cameras this morning, part of our Sony week as well. So more information coming up in just over a minute, so grab yourself that tea and coffee if it's boiled and join us very, very soon. Good morning everybody, welcome on this bright sunny morning, wherever you are actually. Hopefully it's nice for you as well. And my name's Mark Baber, I'm the Technical Marketing Manager here in the UK and Ireland for our photo channel, for Sony's photo channel, and we're working this week with Wilkinson Cameras, and as part of our Sony week with Wilkinson Cameras, we're bringing you live webinars, also one-to-one sessions this week with my colleague Siad, and also Siad this week will be in Wilkinson's Preston store this week with a couple of samples of our kit that you can go and visit him, and he'll have the FX3 there as well. But today we're going to be talking live to John Edwards. He's the director of photography, the owner of Naive Studios, and we're going to be talking to him about his first look and experience with the FX3. And just get this across now, that the guys that we work with when we're doing these type of webinars, they own their own kit. So they are industry working professionals with kit that they purchase, and we work with them to bring these stories to life to you, to reach out whilst we're still in this global pandemic, the messages and the key USPs of the product as well. So please let us know where you're from. I know Andrew Chapman has said good morning. So good morning, Andrew. Like I said, we bring you into the webinar. So look, there we go. Hello, Andrew. Good morning to you. And we've also got our team from Wilkinson Cameras. I think Alex is in there. So great. If you've got any questions for us and themselves, please let us know. I think John's just fallen off his chair in the background while he sorted himself out. So that's a good start. That's all right. I won't bring him up, but that's very, very funny. We'll have to use that in a takeout later. But yes, so we're live with Wilkinson Cameras. Please stay to the end. We've got some cracking offers that we're working with Wilkinson Cameras on as well. And as you know, with these webinars, they go out live globally. They go out, anybody from anywhere can watch these. From anywhere. Good morning, Raisia. Good morning. Hello. She's from Bristol, down in Bristol. So lovely to see you. Please ask us questions. I'll bring you all into the webinar here. And again, Wilkinson have said, look, there's our link to Sony Week for all our Sony Week special offers as well. As I said, they go out globally. And if you are a Wilkinson customer, you know, obviously you're welcome. If you're not, you're also very welcome. But we'd like to talk to you about the retailer as well, and to give you a little bit of history about who they are. So Wilkinson Cameras have 8 stores in the northwest of England. You can see them here on the screen. And now I've worked with the team at Wilkinson Cameras over the last decade, and I sincerely say that these guys know their stuff. They're passionate about photography and kit, and all the managers, the staff, everyone behind the scenes, right up to the owners, are an absolute pleasure to work with. They are independently owned, and they're a photo and video specialist. And like I said, they're up in the northwest of England. They have a very strong online presence, and you can see the URL along the bottom of the screen here. I'll just bring up their website as well. There we go. As you can see, there's a cracking offer there, £300, up to £300 cash back. But they are exceptionally good at customer service. They're very friendly as well. And if you didn't know, most of their team are photographers too. Now, I wasn't aware of this, but this website called Reviews has an amazing percentage of reviews for Wilkinson Cameras. So, you know, I'm not just saying this, they are very good, and it's proven here with a 4.8 star rating as well. And just to let you know that the stores are currently open. They're open Monday to Saturday, 9 to 5:30, and their online customer service is available 7 days a week. And let's just remove that. 7 days a week. Via phone, email and chat. Okay, so thanks very much for joining us. We've got some more people there. James Wilkinson, hello. Good to see you. Let's bring him in. Clap, clap. Lovely to see you, James. Thank you very much for joining us. Again, if you've got questions, please ask them throughout the webinar. If you can't watch this live, it will be recorded and embedded into the Facebook page as well on Wilkinson Cameras' Facebook page. Okay. So let's just get my notes back together. Before we go to John, John is, like I said, Director of Photography for Naive Studios. I'm just going to play a very quick reel to give you a flavour of Naive Studios, about their work, and you'll guess from this that they're pretty good at what they do. And then we'll go straight live to John, and John's going to talk to us about his experience with the FX3. Here's the reel.
Typically portrayed as having been raised by wolves.
service. Try your call again.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Naive.
So let's go live to John and say good morning, John. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
I'm great. You've managed to get back on your chair, mate.
Yeah. A picture frame fell over and nearly took the laptop out that I'm speaking on, so that was interesting just to start.
Brilliant. I love
thank you
doing
very
this.
much for today.
No, it's absolute pleasure. I love doing these live things. Anything can happen. A couple of weeks ago, somebody turned up my front door to replace a tyre on my car, which was in the middle of a webinar. So let's just hope that doesn't happen today. John, thanks again for joining us, and I really, really, really appreciate it. So for those
no problem at all.
for those of you, I think there's a bit of a delay, so I'll just slow down a little bit. But
So is that on my
John,
end, Mark?
I think so, but we'll carry on. John, tell the audience a little bit about yourself, about where you've come from, how you've built up to where you are today, and a little bit of not about Naive Studios, and then we'll go in and have a look at the FX3, where it sits in our range, the spec, that kind of stuff, and your opinions. So over to you, John.
Yeah. So I think originally, filmmaking wise, I was working as a graphic designer, and I'd done that at university, done it for like 10 years. I was working for the NHS at the time, and I was doing some film work. I'd done a little bit at uni. I'd made a DVD for my final project. It was related to skateboarding and bikes. And then from that, I went into this, career, obviously earning money and getting a mortgage and all the normal things. And then hobby-wise, I guess I stopped riding so much and started enjoying shooting landscape photography, and started doing some more film work with the kind of whole DSLR boom, I guess, where like those cameras, suddenly you could kind of create much better quality video than a lot of the previous kind of like handycam stuff that you had available, in like a prosumer range, I guess. And I made a little piece of work and I put it in the Sony Production Awards, and this was 2013, I think. And I expected it to go nowhere really. I just wanted some critiquing, of it. And it went all the way through and it won like the commercial sector. So I was just really shocked. And Sony were great and offered me a lot of opportunity in training down at Pinewood Studios with color grading and lighting and such. They gave me a very expensive camera at the time, the FS700. So suddenly I had a cinema camera, which is fantastic. And it was kind of that point where it dawned on me, where I was like, well, either I, continue this 9 to 5 that I'm doing, or I kind of go down this new path and do something that, is kind of become my full-time hobby now. And then I'm kind of enjoying it so much, I'd love to work in it. So I just kind of chipped away at it from there, really. I then shot a pilot for a fashion series, and that got picked up. I kind of wrote out a list of my top like 5 men's like fashion platforms that I looked at anyway, and I think the second one on the list picked it up, which was crazy. So straight away this little pilot that I'd made turned into a 5-part series with Highsnobiety, the company's called, and then it brought in some big brands and some new startup brands, which kind of became famous and stuff. So instantly the work was great, that I kind of already had Highsnobiety on the books, Sony, and then Zeiss as well, because I kind of understood the relationship of an ambassador role or being involved with Sony and what they wanted in return, that I then kind of thought, well, I can flip this elsewhere on other bits of kit that I might want to use or try out. And just develop more relationships in the industry and kind of built that. Started obviously doing the talks and seminars, because I remember seeing a guy doing the photo show, and he was talking for Canon, I think. And he was quite young also. And to me personally at the time, I thought, wow, like that's crazy. He's on main stage for Canon. I'd love to do something like that. Surely that would bring me more clients and, give me more underpinning. So again, I started speaking at the photo show, which was fantastic. And then I got offered to go to New York for Photo Plus, and lots of seminars and events, obviously with yourself, Mark, and Sony, and Zeiss also. So that, it's just been really nice. And I can remember going to that first photo show and thinking, well, either this is going to be fine and perfect, I have no problem talking to people, or it's going to bomb, and I don't know what I'm going to be like on on a stage at a platform, and this is going to be horrific. So, but yeah, it was nice. Everyone was nice. Loads of questions, and then from there on out, yeah, I've just kind of been building more clients, working out, the kind of areas I wanted to work in, and yeah, just slowly building the company, I suppose, whilst shooting the project.
Of course, in the last year, we've worked closely on interacting with our customers online. And again,
Yeah.
this is an opportunity for our customers to find out more about what you are now using the FX3, but you're also using it in conjunction with the A7S3 as well. So,
yeah, I've got the two cameras here. So
yeah, could you just bring them up? Because Sayad's got mine, and
yeah,
they're
yeah.
up in
So
Preston at the moment.
this is yeah. So
Just bring you in,
this is very new to us. But it's fantastic, and then obviously the A7S3 as well, which again is reasonably new to us, and again it's really good. Yeah, I just thought as a duo they kind of work super well, and they're very small, so they're good to pop on a gimbal or to pick up a handheld. Like with this automotive piece, if we're shooting inside a vehicle and there's a tight interior or something, or again shooting in the city and in maybe like shadier areas. Obviously, you're not bringing mass attention to yourself if you're shooting on a much smaller object than a large fancy camera. So.
Well, that leads us nicely into this. This is the current range we have in our system, and I brought this up for you watching, and maybe when you watch it a bit later, is the A1 is pretty much the one that does everything for us, and it's fantastic for stills. It's fantastic for video. 50 million pixels. 30 frames per second stills, so it's pretty much sits at the flagship of our range. A lot of people tended to think that the A9 was at the flagship of our range, but it's really good to get across to people that may be looking to come to Sony or move up within the range. Is that the A9 is ideal for sports photographers, wildlife, fast readout speed sensor, autofocus, 20 frames per second, really fast kind of operating camera. Not really dedicated to video, but you can shoot video on them. Then you've got the A7R series, which is resolution, and the A7R4 sits at the top of the resolution range. And that's fantastic for detail. You've got 60 million pixels. You've got the ability to crop in the camera. And, if you're a wildlife photographer, that's certainly something to look at. But landscape, commercial, that kind of stuff. So R is for resolution. S is for sensitivity. So you've got full frame sensor, low light, incredible low light. I mean, you're talking hundreds of thousand ISO performance with a smaller pixel. Yeah, and for filmmakers like yourself, it's incredibly good. 12 million pixels, but the pixels are a lot larger. They let a lot more light in, and using different circuitry, you're able to shoot ridiculous high ISO. So perfect for filmmaking. And we'll come on to the FX3 in a second. The A7 III is our all-rounder. It's our entry level. It kind of does an element of everything, but at a more affordable price. And it's our kind of very, very popular camera indeed. And then the A7C is a very small retro kind of format of the A7 III, so it's almost the same camera in that body. And generally these are more dedicated to stills, but again, people do use it for video. Then you've got the APS-C range. So the reason why I've brought this in is because the system for the lens system for Sony is one mount. So you don't need an adapter to use APS-C lenses on full frame and full frame on APS-C as well. So, but in the middle of that is the FX3. And the FX3 bridges that gap now between, say, our alpha cameras, so the traditional cameras you see here, to our cinema line. And all of a sudden, we've now got this ability to kind of combine the whole range together rather than saying this is alpha, this is cinema line. And I'm really, really pleased that we've done that, because this camera is ideal for a solo shooter. I know you've got people that work with you, John, but if you're on your own, and I've tried this recently actually on a shoot I did last week, it's just so perfect to hold in the hand with a handle. And I've got an image in a second to show you, but when I was holding the flip out screen, I was able to stabilize it almost gimbal-like. Don't quote me on that. It wasn't as good as using a gimbal, but the stabilization in the camera was excellent in this small form factor. So the question is now to you, how did you get on with the FX3? What were your first thoughts? And let's just talk a little bit about your opinion on that camera.
Yeah. Yeah, so we got the camera through, and obviously it's kind of always stressful having, say, a new piece of kit on a commercial set where, time's money and all the rest of it. So I needed for some time to shoot a pilot for a car commercial. It didn't have to be kind of a full finished fledged piece with a storyline and all the rest of it. It was basically we'd worked with an agent, a German agent who works directly with Mercedes, and we'd shot a branded doc for Mercedes in Australia. And then after that, we did a couple of really big pitches for Mercedes electric car releases. And some of that was quite daunting. He sent me over the first, and he was like, look, this is the initial release for the electric range, and then we're going to put you in for the GLA and another model. And the piece he sent me over it was shot in LA with a weekend. I went on it had 2 million views already on YouTube. It was like their flagship video for Mercedes Goes Electric. And I was just like, oh my God, because we'd just done this. The branded dot was great, and it was, for the brand, and they were super happy with it. But never had we shot anything car related, really. I'd kind of dipped my toe in it maybe 2014 or something with my own car and shot some bits. But yeah, so essentially the idea, I guess, Mark, with the FX3 was that we'd take it and I'd shoot this pilot purely on the new camera. So I got used to the menus, I got used to, the settings, popping it on the gimbal and getting it balanced correctly. So all the tracking shots in the video are done on it, and all the handheld elements and the gimbal work outside the car, and even the interior shots, everything shot on the FX for that one, rather than any of the A7S3, because it was kind of like a test of multiple things. Can we shoot the car well? Can we use this new camera? And there's no client breathing down your neck, so you can it was just a couple of friends who helped me out with it, that worked with us, and yeah, it was a good time. So yeah, the Still Zero shot by Dan Farrow, who's a friend. Dan also drove the chase vehicle for when we were shooting, and then James, who actually popped up earlier saying hi, James Wilkinson. James was the Stig as such, and he drove the Arteon round. Yeah, and I hung out in the boot shooting all the tracking stuff, and then we jumped out the car in the evening and shot some stuff. This is the Horseshoe Pass in North Wales. It's quite close to where we live, and I know Top Gear use it quite often for the magazine shoots and even for the TV program in the past. So just thought it was a good, easy option on. Yeah.
In regards to handling, how did you find it, compared to, say, an A7S3? Because obviously A7S is a traditional Alpha style. The FX3 is a box.
Yeah.
So it's literally a box with a flip-out screen, rigging points.
Yeah.
When I first saw it, I was like, whoa, I've never seen anything like this before. Yes, obviously familiar with the Cinema Line, but, how did you, how did you feel when you started using it compared to the A7S?
Yeah, it's great. It kind of seems more like a tank. Like it's robust. It's not heavy. It's light, but it's very. It kind of, the quality of it's amazing. And then obviously, like you said, it's a box, so it's very easy to balance on a gimbal, because it's kind of, just a very small, well proportioned unit, so it's not kind of weighted one side more than the other. I actually find it, as much as I say that, the A7S3 is very similar. So you can take one off the gimbal, put the plate across on the other camera, and obviously just depending on the lens, but we mainly use primes and they're normally of a similar weight. It doesn't take long at all to balance it up. It's more just a forward-backward setup on it, so that's great. Yeah, it's very small. It's reasonably light, and then, like you said as well, Mark, the top handle and the XLR feature was a massive thing for me that kind of put it above the A7S3 for filmmaking. I think a little bit, where I was like, well, audio is always a little bit of a problem on a mirrorless. Like you don't have XLR. And I'd come from an FS5 and an FS5 II and the FS700. So I knew, like, to have that XLR as well is fantastic, especially for like run and gun elements or kind of like little snippets of work. So yeah, that was a massive help. And then obviously all the codecs in these new cameras, like with the spec now, the options to codecs is mass, and it's brilliant. You know, you can kind of switch stuff up job to job and how much you want to shoot, or whether it's going to be on YouTube or whether it's just for social or whether it's for television and broadcast. It's nice to have that flexibility. You know, if people are wanting to overshoot as well, you know, you can take it back a little bit on the card and maybe shoot 8-bit instead of 10 if you're happy, you know, with what you're shooting, or certain projects. These two projects, obviously, because they were pilots, and the other one was a campaign, the fashion video that we've got to show. They're shooting 4K 10-bit 422, so kind of all singing, all dancing out of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's again a really good point, because without going into too much detail with the spec, you know, the ability now to be shooting with incredible color, you know, capabilities that we've not had in our cameras before. So, you know, 422 10-bit. We've also got obviously 4K slow-mo, so 120p, you know, which again we haven't had in our system. So from the A7S III into now the FX, so and bridging that gap between Alpha and Cinema Line. We said earlier about the sensor being smaller but larger pixels. Same thing with this, so it's fantastic in low light, as well as you know, the ability to have, you know, corner to corner 4K without any pixel binning and so on. So, you know, you're getting real full readout of the sensor, which is so. This isn't a camera for photographers, although it does have a photo mode. This is, you know, it would be very alien if somebody picked this up and thought, you know, a photographer like myself, and went, oh, I don't think this is suitable for photography. It can be used for photography, but it, you know, as soon as you switch it on, it has video settings that, you know, you have to find in the menu system of a photo camera. We mentioned stabilization as well, and I want to bring up this image, this one here, because this one's me. Let's just move me out of it. This is a shoot I did with Glyn Dewis last week with some future content that we're putting together. But even me, you know, a non-filmmaker person, I was able to hold it really well. And it was so steady. I think I've got a 35mm Sony Zeiss on there. And also just holding it in the hand to be able to keep the stabilization correct. I know we've done some post-editing on this in the last few days, and Glyn has come back and said, actually, you know, there was hardly any correction, if anything, in post on stabilization, which was fantastic. But I actually really loved using it as from a photographer point of view. So, you know, filmmakers will just love this, because as a solo shooter, you know, again, even if you don't have the microphone in the handle is ideal for moving around. And you can see on here as well that it has two XLR inputs, left and right channel, and also because it's got a multi-interface hot shoe, when you connect the handle or an external Sony microphone, you don't need any cables, because it goes straight through the actual interface, which you can set up as well on both the FX3 and the A7S III as well. I mean, dynamic range, I mean, there's a diagram here that says, you know, 15 stops, but how did you know, what was it like in the camera? How, you know, were you impressed with what you saw? Could you match it with the A7S III, etc.?
Yeah. I was actually saying this to Jacob that I work with. Jacob's like our photographer, really, I suppose. And we were chatting about this camera and the A7S III, and I was saying to him, with the 10-bit now, and especially in 4K, with the dynamic range, when you kind of up and down the exposure in post as well, it kind of just, it's amazing that the highlights and shadows and stuff don't really like move. It's almost like you're just adjusting whether you want a lighter or a darker image, if that makes sense. But it doesn't destroy anything. Like, you can go 3 stops under, 3 stops over, etc. And yeah, it's just fantastic. Like, the image out of the camera now is just phenomenal. And then again, Mark, like you said, with the 10-bit, the color now and what you can do, like the fashion project we've got to show, they had a very strong look and a certain color palette that they wanted to achieve with that. And I'd say from days of old, that would be a little bit stressful, having that on your mind, you know, how you're going to grade it and whether it would work out of S-Log3. But now it's fantastic. Like, it worked as well, if not better, than some of the stills that we shot on the campaign. So yeah, really good.
Well, look, let's have a look at the VW advert, and let's have a look at, you know, let's talk about the style. There's some other features of the camera we can also talk about, but let's have a look at the content now. And you know, thanks again for sharing this with us, because I know we haven't shared this on any webinars previously, so this is exclusive for Wilkinson Cameras Facebook page. So let's have a look and let's come back. So a short reel there, John, but superb. I mean, when I first saw it, I just thought the colours, the grading, the smoothness of it was, and the resolution, the sharpness was excellent. So talk us through, your
Yeah.
approach to this, because you do, and I've said this before, and I'm seeing it again in previous webinars. There's this style you've got, this look, and I'm still can't work out how you create it. It's such a nice look.
Yeah, so I suppose all the work I look at, as much as we make a lot of social content, and that's kind of where we earn most of our money, everything I look at is more bigger commercial, like short film, high-end cinema photography, really, I suppose, is what I kind of am interested in from an image, I suppose. I kind of enjoy the commercial side of things because I've got a short attention span. So if someone said, do you want to make a movie? Do you want to make a short film? No, not really. But yeah, so for this, we kind of set about it where Daniel, the German agent, had kind of said, look, you guys should make something. The treatments that you sent across for these pictures were great. The only reason you lost out was you have no examples. Like you've got bits and pieces, but nothing concrete. It's like just make a pilot. It doesn't have to be a full-on piece like an advert, but if it's the quality's there, it could be on TV. Then you're going to bag these jobs. So I was like, okay, so that was the point now as we're coming out of lockdown that we might be able to pitch more and do some treatments and get this work. So obviously I thought the camera was perfect for it. I knew the quality out of the A7S3 anyway. I knew that I wanted to shoot S-Log3. Was going to shoot so much slow motion because obviously you kind of want the dynamic of the car moving and like the speed and kind of the pace, and like with the music track we chose, it's quite an upbeat kind of like dance track. And kind of the whole time keeping it in mind that it could, be the kind of thing that you might see on TV and think, oh, that's quite cool. That it wasn't kind of too out there. Because I spoke with Jacob originally, and Jacob wanted to do something with some models, have a whole storyline, and it would have been really cool. But I just felt like it was going to take a month to make, and all out of our own pocket. And I was like, look, Daniel only needs some cool tracking and drive-by shots, and some details just to show that we can nail that. So that's what we did, really. So I only had two guys in for it, Dan and James, as I'd mentioned before, and again picking a sensible crew because we were shooting this on open roads. We didn't have the luxury of closing roads and stuff for tracking shots, so we'd be in one vehicle. James would be in the Arteon, and then where we kind of briefed each other in on wherever suitable. Just pass us where you would naturally pass us. Don't do anything crazy. Don't do anything wild. Let's be sensible about all this. And it worked out really well. We did one day in Snowdonia, and then one evening up the Horseshoe Pass that I mentioned that you can see here in these stills. And just a lot of low light work to test the camera as well. So like you said, Mark, with the ISO, we did a lot of stuff at, I think it's 12,800, is that a higher sweet spot. And it's just crazy. Like we got the footage back off that, and it's lit by nothing more than the car lights on the front of the car. The tracking vehicle I was in, I purposely made Dan switch the lights off so you didn't see any lights off what we were in. So when the car pulls up close, it's only lit off the Arteon. And it's on roads with no street lights. The Horseshoe Pass has no street lights at all. It was literally the moon and the headlights, and it works so well with it. They're
Because
like the key end shots in the video.
It looks really clean. I mean, when you are what do you use when you're post editing?
So just Final Cut X, and then I do all my color grading in that as well. I don't use DaVinci or anything. I've kind of grown up in it, so as it's progressed, I've just stuck with it and use all the tools in that. So just normally a sharpen because it's come out of S-Log, a color base layer with adjustments just to bring the exposure back to what it should be, a color curve just to bring everything up or down slightly.
And again, for those of you that are watching,
working with some LUTs.
yeah, so I was going to say, for
Yeah.
those that are watching, S-Log obviously is very flat, very
Yes. Yeah.
saturated format, so that you can add your lookup tables, your LUTs back into it at a later stage. So and this is something that you find now with majority of our cameras. The fact is, as well as S-Cinetone, which S-Cinetone is the color profile from our cinema line, and I'll just bring that up actually just to give
Yeah.
an idea of what that looks like. If I just take that off, there we go. So this is our cinema line now, which is something you don't necessarily buy off the shelf in a shop or maybe online. But the fact is that
Yeah.
the color sampling that we have with the FX3 and the A7S3 is inherited from this range of incredibly incredible cinematic broadcast cameras. And again, hopefully you can see at home on the spec here, but there's huge similarity. There are some major differences, as you would expect with more higher end kit like the Venice, but there is a very close relationship with the FX3 and the FX6, and obviously the FX9 as well. So from that point of view, you're getting, it's almost like Sony are bringing this high-end technology into a more consumer-centric body, which is only a good thing. So and I know you've used, I don't think you've used the FX6, but you've FS7 Mark II and FS5 Mark IIs in the past as well. But
Yes.
these
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
obviously more bulkier
Yeah.
kit.
Yeah. And FX6 was something that we were looking at to purchase further down the line for sure. I think just a great camera. And then obviously, like you said, Mark, with the Venice, to be having the color and a lot of the science out of that camera is just insane. Where that is a movie camera, and I think that that's a good point as well. Where I was talking to people about cameras, where people talk about other brands, and I won't mention any, but a lot of them don't have that cinema heritage with the cameras. So they're saying, "Oh, this camera is really good for video. It's better than a Sony," and you're like, "Yeah, but look, like that company don't do anything with Hollywood. They don't shoot movies, or even now, whatever Netflix. They're not like signed to Netflix. That those cameras are worthy shooting that. Whereas Sony has, this underpinning that it has this history of cameras. The FX65, the Venice now, and obviously, like you said, you're getting that down the range. And you can see it for sure. When like you look at your own work now, and if you color grade it right, say, and you're putting it alongside, I don't know, an Audi ad or something. For this, I pulled up a load of references. I screenshot a load of current adverts that I really liked, and then made sure the grade kind of matched up to those.
That's a really good point. Thank you for mentioning that, because if you in the past, I think we're all trying to create something that looks like something, but if we now have access right up through the channel through from A7S3 into the cinema line, I think that's a really, really strong message to get across, that you can have elements of the higher end models in a smaller body. We're going to come on to a question in a minute, John, but before we do, in regards to social media now, obviously, it's only in the last probably six months since the pandemic, my wife has started her own business, and actually social media for her is a massive communication to the audience. Whether you get it right or wrong, it's clearly important to you. Let's play this clip and come back out and then talk about how do you get this to look this good on social. So let's have a look at this. So again, it's a small clip, we've seen the larger clip, the longer clip. We've now seen the shorter clip. You capture literally all that in that short space of time. But how do you get it looking that slick? And how important it is for you to obviously get your message out on social.
Yeah. Well, definitely now with the way Instagram runs, and everyone's just seeing stories more than they're looking at the wall space, which is a shame, really. But it's just how they've tailored it. The stories now are so important. So those vertical cut downs of 15 seconds or 10 seconds that people want are vital. And then obviously with that, we shot it in 4K anyway, 422 10-bit, so the quality was crazy out of the camera. And then the problem normally with the verticals is obviously you're then resizing a wide shot, unless you're shooting vertically, which I hate doing because I just feel like I'm shooting on a mobile phone. You're resizing for that space. So normally if you'd shot HD and then you're trying to make it a HD vertical, you're having to blow it up maybe 50% and adjust it and reframe it, which is frustrating again because obviously you're losing all your framing in like corner to corner or thirds and such. But with the 4K, you're getting way more flexibility. So when you put the 4K image into just a 1080 vertical, you're not blowing up the image. You're just kind of selecting out of the image. So that's why it ends up so crisp when on the export, which is fantastic. Yeah, and then like you said, Mark, really, I just normally with those as well, we kind of take the full campaign, and it'll kind of be a separate. It'll either be the first 10 or 15 seconds if that really suits it, or if not, we'll purposely set up another timeline in a vertical format and almost do like a mini highlight reel of whatever it is as like a trailer or a pull-in for 10 or 15 seconds. Obviously, depending on how much you want to give away from the whole project so people actually go and watch it. But yeah, I do find them important. And we make little adverts for Naive as just 15-second pieces of a couple of projects and so on. So yeah, we take it seriously at the same time.
Brilliant. And I'm having it, like I said, my wife's got her own business now, and seeing it, firsthand, it really does make a massive difference if you do get it right, and the engagement and the reach, especially like with webinars when we're doing this, the engagement and the reach. If we don't do anything, then we can't talk to our customers. So this is, the reach can be quite varied, but at the same time, it's essential to try and talk to as many customers as we can, which is great. And maybe actually, I've just thought that one of our future webinars could be about how we edit in different formats. So keep that in mind going forward.
Yeah. Because those change all the time as well. Those change all the time as well. Like we endlessly get in, now people want this for the wall and this size and this. So it's interesting, what that does to the footage.
John, I've just a question here from Wilkinson Cameras, actually asking for a friend. Do you use your own LUTs? So again, lookup tables. So this is like kind of almost like templates that John will put together. Filmmakers put together. Do you plan on releasing any?
It's really weird you ask that because I've been asked that an awful lot over the last couple of years with grading and stuff. And I'm still I've been trying to package a whole kind of starter kit and put it to a store to sell. So currently it's something that it's on the radar to do, and I've completed some elements of it already, but I'm just trying to kind of dot the I's and cross the T's on how we're going to do that. I didn't want to release it myself. I just see so many of them on Instagram and stuff that I wanted to kind of go about it a different way.
And Wilkinson here has just said they've been using their A7C for Reels on Instagram. The versatility of being able to reframe is fantastic. Your vertical hit over 6,000 views in 2 days.
Wow, that's amazing.
So again, I think the importance of social media is probably more important. I think certainly with the way that we're living our lives at the moment because of what's happening globally, that it's such an essential tool of information and communication as well. The next content we're going to look at, and it's the final piece of the webinar as well. So thank you for those that are watching. If you do have any more questions, please throw them in because we can ask John or myself or Wilkinson Cameras online. The next one is a combination of content, combination of kits, isn't it? So we've got the A7S3 and the FX3. This is for sisters and seekers. I've got that right, haven't I? Lady women's fashion brand. Let's have a look at the reel. We've also got then it vertical cut as well, and let's talk about how you combine now the two pieces of technology to create this superb reel.
Cool. Thanks, Will.
So, being quite naive about fashion in general, I did some research around the brand Sisters and Seekers, and it's absolutely matches it perfectly. So, again, how did this project come up, and how did you attack this one? Because it's very different to the automotive side. You're clearly
Yeah,
using two different pieces
yeah,
of technology. I can't see any difference in how you've done that. So talk us through how this came
yeah.
about and how you approached it.
Yeah. So I'd seen the brand on social and saw the numbers they had of likes and followers and such, and it was massive. And then I also cottoned on via kind of researching it a bit more that it was Northwest where we are, and it was even from my hometown, which is a small town in North Wales. So I thought, well, that's crazy, really. I wouldn't have thought that. So I contacted Jacob that I work with, and said to him, like, check this out. It looks quite strong. Like the styling of it looks like the figures are big on it already. I don't know how I haven't heard about it already. So I sent them a direct message and said, hey, we'd love to work with you guys. We're locally based. Here's some examples. Heard nothing back because sometimes if you direct message someone and you're not friends with them or whatever, they just don't pick it up, or it's a business account. They don't check like mails like that. And then a couple of months later, Jake got contacted by him and said, hey, we've seen your photography work, love it. We would love you to come and shoot some work for us. So Jake went and did that. They got a couple of videographers they were using already. And then Jake just said, oh, look, I work with John all the time. We work as like a duo. It would speed things up, and you'd get the same results because we color grade the same and kind of deliver whole campaigns and packages. So so that was it. So we went in, and this was the first campaign for them really, together, and the team were really nice, super easy to deal with, very down to earth, and the whole idea I thought of the farm and the kind of tongue-in-cheek element of it, of like kind of some high end like fashion looking stuff shot on like just a very normal kind of farm, kind of stable area, just worked really well. And then like you said, Mark, the color palette they had, it's very gold and very brown, but the girls are very aware of that from the company as well, so they purposely gone and scouted the location and picked somewhere that suited it.
Okay.
There was little elements in post that to take out. There was the odd like bag on the side that was like navy blue, and they were like, we just can't have navy blue in the shot. Is there anything you can do? And I was like, well, yeah, I can track mask it. So I kind of took the color out of that bag, and whilst the camera moved, the bag moves with it, so you can't tell that the color changes. But yeah, and then so camera wise, it was shot on the FX3 for all the handheld elements, and then the A7S3 on the gimbal. So the key hero shots were all on the gimbal, and that worked really well. Obviously, so used to using that camera now. I've had it for maybe 6 to 12 months. And then the FX3 was great because they were all handheld elements at 60 frames a second. And with that, I wanted to pick up the audio as well, so I could use playful bits of, say, the horse noises are all from the day, the pigs grunting, moving hay, pouring milk, all the rest of it. They were all just like, ambient samples off the XLR mic, which is great. And then, the gimbal was set at 120 frames, so we had these really smooth pans and pulls and whip pans and stuff. And then 60 frames on the handheld, just so it had a bit more of a kind of handheld, kind of like rough and ready kind of run and gun type feel to it. Still like not to the point that it was normal speed, so it looked a bit too rugged for a fashion campaign. But it had like that cutaway feel to it rather than the key shots.
And John, when you post-edited this, then was it as simple as, I haven't done this, but I guess the two files just matched?
Cameras. So this is the thing now. Yeah, compared to say the days of, and there's nothing wrong with that, but say the FS5 2 even, where the color signs have been changed, and it's great. But it's got a certain look to that camera. So if you then used any of the alpha range, you'd see that they had a look to them. Like say the A7 III has a slightly certain feel to it, and I can always pick it up because I love that camera and I've used it for years. And it's got a slight like silvery DSAT look to the footage, I always feel. Whereas now with the A7S3 and the FX3, they're very true on color. From like a Rec 709, like a starting point. Once you bring the color back in, the skin tones are fantastic. Everything just looks as you'd expect it to from a log image, you know. So yeah, they just match across the board. So it's really easy to deal with.
How are you getting on with the new menu system? So again, for those of you not aware, the A7S3 and the FX3 have the new menu system, which is touchscreen and operation. Because I love it, and it's taken me ages to get to a point to understanding it and navigating it and the shortcuts. But how are you finding it?
Yeah, to be honest, absolutely fine. Obviously, like the A7S3 was the first, and everyone used to moan about some of the other camera menus, and I always liked them because I just, I'd grown up on the Alpha series I've had an A7 II, I've had an A7S II, I've had an A7R3, and then these. So across the board, I've always been used to the Sony menus, and then these ones, they're definitely they're an improvement. It's easier to find stuff. The only thing I've got at the moment is I've been so busy and been shooting across both cameras commercially that the FX3 is still set up as the FX3 when it arrives, which has got more of the Cine Line set up on the menus.
Yes,
and the features, obviously, because the body's slightly different. And then the S3 is set as more like an alpha camera. So when I pick them up, they always throw me off a little because I haven't set them the same, which is absolutely fine. I'm getting used to it because I'm shooting so much at the moment. But it's kind of makes me laugh when I'm on set and I'm trying to find something. I'm like, I should know, or I should duo them. That they're the same.
John, look, we're coming up. We're coming up now to an hour. We're going to finish within the hour. So if you have any questions, more questions for John and myself, we've just got a few minutes left until the end of the webinar. If you want to find out more information about the FX3 and the other range of cameras and lenses from Sony, then please visit Wilkinson Camera's website. We'll bring up their details again in a second. But John, look, thank you ever so much for putting this content together. We really, really do appreciate it. I know you're very busy at the moment. And again, thank you to the Wilkinson Cameras team as well for supporting us. Now, this is where we talk about the offers that we have. And if you are interested in buying kit from Sony kit from our retailer Wilkinson Cameras, then this is the time to look at what offers we've got on. But before we do that, here's John's website. And going across the screen now is his website, Instagram handle, and also Twitter. So please give him a follow. And I know, John, I'm speaking on your behalf here, but you are very open and approachable when it comes to supporting, budding filmmakers and so on. So if you do have questions, get in touch with John directly. He'd be more than happy to.
Definitely. If anyone wants to hit us up,
absolutely perfect.
Thanks,
which is great. Great work.
Always answer everything where we can.
Fantastic. And Wilkinson's offers. So Wilkinson Camera offers, here we go. So our first offer up, and this is a cracking offer. It's the following. It's free peak design kit, and I've got a picture of it here. So let's just bring this up. There we go. So this is worth about £60. It's on selected cameras, and it is free if you input this code at the end of your purchase at the basket. Here it is. Free peak. So free peak. We'll just bring that up again. Free peak. So thank you, Wilkinson. A great offer, really is. I think that's excellent. I use Peak Design myself. And the other offer we have here is 10% off. Sony lenses, so it's selective Sony lenses using the online code. Wait for it. Sony 10. Sony 10. So at the end of your purchase basket, please obviously put this in. As you can see at the bottom there, Wilkinson Cameras website for Sony Week as well. So 10% off lenses. On top of that, if you weren't aware, we also have our nationwide cashback campaign. So for more details, the website is at the bottom of the screen here. That's where you find out more about terms and conditions, but it will be explained on the Wilkinson Cameras website up until the 31st of July. So if you are looking for lenses, you not only save 10% on selected, there's also money off. And if that wasn't enough, I'll give an example. An A7 III which is normally 1699, is £200 cashback, which takes it down to 1499, which is excellent value. If that's not enough, like I said, we also have an additional year's warranty worth around £40. So please register once you've purchased via Wilkinson Cameras this week. You will gain yourself an additional year's warranty. And again, if that's not enough, finally, we're nearly there. Please visit this website, because if you register Welcome to Alpha, then if you're looking at a lens, not only will you get 10% off on selected models, not only you will get cashback, but we're throwing in an additional £100 off as well. So it's really well worth tuning in, not only just obviously to see John and your work, John, and thank you, but also as part of Sony Week this week with Wilkinson Cameras, we've got some fantastic offers. So like I said, give the guys a call, go into store or go online, and there's some amazing offers. And if you're in the Preston area on Friday, my colleague Siad will be in store demonstrating kit as well. So John, thank you, mate. Thanks ever so much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you as always. It's been really good.
And thank you, Wilkinson Cameras, as well, for your support. Just to let you know, we do have 2 more webinars tomorrow. One is in the morning with the Societies of Photographers and Wilkinson Cameras and myself. I'm going to be talking about the Sony Alpha range. So if you're not sure where everything sits in the range, or you're looking to move from, say, DSLR to Sony mirrorless, then that's a really good webinar to watch, because we're going to go through everything with some amazing demos on autofocus, eye autofocus. We're going to be looking at resolution, detail, lenses, the whole lot in under an hour. And also in the afternoon, we're going to be talking to Ian Munro and Geraint Williams of Skint Creative about portraits with punch. And we're going to have some fun with that one. And then back on Friday, it's myself talking about the vlogging family on Wilkinson Cameras Facebook page, and find out more about, if you're looking for a vlogging camera, which one is best suited for what purpose. Thank you again, guys. We're going to sign off now. Have a great day, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Thanks again, John.
Yeah, thank you, Mark.
All the best.